Hey, it's the Redeye Stream number 126. Today we're going to talk about the news coming out of the E3 convention. Also, a little bit about North Korea. There's not much that we can really go into that because, well, as we were discussing before we just went live, they're kind of staying hush-hush about it. So let's open up with North Korea, MC. I do think it's a good sign that President Trump actually showed up and he hasn't left yet. You said he put out a tweet recently. What did the tweet say?
Basically, that things are moving along very quickly with the staff, and we will see how things go, but he expects to have a positive outcome.
Yeah, and I saw some people joking on Twitter about fucking Rodman. Is Dennis Rodman actually there? I really hope he's not.
Yes.
Right?
He's actually in Singapore.
God damn it.
Now, whether or not he's actually at the conference between them or not, well, I mean, it kind of depends on the participants now, doesn't it? If Kim Jong-un wants Dennis Rodman to pop on in, well, I mean, I don't see I honestly don't see Trump saying no to that, considering that he's willing to listen to pretty much anybody, right? And that's a good thing, right? He's willing to sit up there and listen to it, at least initially, and if they have merit, then he reacts to it, and if they don't, they never come back, and he calls them some kind of name that he's invented for him. So
yeah, but I mean, I get it that Un has met with Rodman before, and he's met with him numerous times in the past. A lot of it was during the Obama administration. But at a high-level summit with the President of the United States, I don't think Dennis fucking Rodman should really be around. Sorry.
Well, say what you want, but Dennis Rodman, when he was meeting with Kim, did get certain Americans released back in the Obama administration. All right, so as much of a clown as he can be, all right, he's there. I mean, he can have positive results. These people, they can be clownish, they can do a lot of things, but then again, sometimes people want clowns. And if Kim Jong-un wants him there, and Dennis Rodman, he's just looking to try and make peace around the world as far as he sees it, right? If this is his star to shine, then let him shine. I mean, if it's helpful, it's helpful. If it's not, then it's a different issue. At this point in time, I don't see him. He's not doing anything. He's not spewing anti-American garbage. Even back then, he didn't say anything anti-American. So I don't have a problem with Rodman necessarily.
That's a fair point. I'll concede that point to you, but I just don't think it's necessarily proper. I don't know. He's a basketball player. He's not an ambassador. He's not fucking anything in the government whatsoever. He's a washed-up basketball player.
I mean, in all fairness, Trump isn't exactly a fucking ambassador either, but, there he is.
Come on, guys. Every team needs a mascot.
Yeah, there we are. Well said.
It's dangerous to have somebody think that Rodman is a mascot, but then again, it is what it is.
How long is the summit going to last? I don't remember.
It's just one day, today? And then he's going to leave. Trump is basically not foolish. All right. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. There's certain things about leaders that Trump has learned and understands, and that is, we iron out the overall things of where we go, what are the sticking points, what aren't the sticking points. Okay, there's no reason he has to be there aside from the photo op and say, yes, I'm interested in this, or no, I'm not interested in this. All right, they're not going to be the ones that iron out the details. The staff are. Okay, they're there to say, yes, we're going forward, yes, we're serious with this. If there's a sticking point between the staffs, then he's going to get on the phone and they're going to iron it out over a phone call. He doesn't physically have to be there, but the fact that he's meeting there in the overall thing is a positive sign. Now, the real thing that he's trying to push, and this is what he said, is denuclearization has to happen, and it has to be verifiable. All right, he went back to the old Reagan line, which was, yeah, as long as it's verifiable, we'll reduce our nuclear stockpiles. And they did things that were verifiable. The Russians did, so did or the Soviet Union, and so did the United States. One of the things that many people don't know, but they would learn if they went to the Titan Missile Museum, which is located close to here to Tucson. They have a full-up Titan missile, and the Titan missile has certain guarantees, all right, in it to prove that the Russians can come in and inspect it, and there's certain things that they look at to say, okay, this is truly a non-working ICBM, all right, as part of that is part of the treaty, all right, that's part of the verification process, all right. We can do the same. There's certain areas that we know that we can walk into. There's certain areas that are open to satellite inspection, all right, to where we can fly over with our satellites and say, okay, with this picture here, we can prove X, Y, or Z, right? Some of that is very simple. You have the missile tubes, and the missile tubes, the doors are open, and you can see down in the missile tubes, see if there's a missile down there, for example. So they're going to be expecting something like that from Kim Jong-un. And I think that the way Trump works is the staff basically does a lot of that ironing out details, and they just discuss, okay, are there any of these details that are sticking points with you, and how do we resolve it? So it's a big picture kind of thing with the details, are done by the staff, and he trusts the staff that he's got around him now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, yeah, there's really nothing else we could really talk about when it comes to this summit until some of the information starts to come out. So that being said, we can go ahead and move on a little bit.
Well, but I do think. I'm sorry. Go ahead, boys.
I just wanted to know what they were having for dinner.
I haven't seen anything on what they've had for dinner yet. I suspect it'll be 2 scoops of ice cream, though, probably for both.
Is Melania wearing Prada this year to the meeting, or?
I don't think that did Melania go?
We have to have
Melania with him.
We have to care about the important things.
I mean, Melania is recovering from surgery, and it was I think one of the things about that surgery was it was a bit more extensive than people were led on to believe.
Yeah, because I heard some stupid bullshit from like CNN or something. The first lady is missing. Did she die? Who knows? Will Trump get a new wife? Find out next week on Anderson Cooper 360. It's just like, okay, no.
Well, they even had one guy sit up and speculate did Trump beat his wife?
Yes, I did. I saw that. I saw that.
Just like, is that an impeachable defense if he's beating his wife in the White House?
And that guy literally was not fired for writing that piece, which is shameful.
No. In fact, he got his picture basically on CNN as well. So the one thing that you're seeing now is you're starting to see fewer and fewer tweets or exposés rather being written coming directly from the White House now that are not approved by the White House. So I think a lot of the leakers that were within his staff have been outed and removed.
Oh, that's true.
And you've seen that especially in one area. All right. And this goes back to Tillerson. Mm-hmm. He's cleaned up the State Department. You don't have the State Department making contradictory and conflicting statements with the President of the United States anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So you can say that that's a bad thing if you want, but then again, it's if you have a group or a staff that's been working against you and doing it in such a brazen manner that it's all public, it's a major problem. Now you see a single direction ahead at the White House, which I know a lot of people don't like Trump. All right, but this is what he's been looking for, and I think it's overall for the country. It's always better that people understand you work. If you're in the executive branch in any way, shape, or form, which means if you work for the EPA, if you work for the Defense Department, if you work for the State Department, if you work at the FDA, All right. If you work anywhere in these agencies, you work at the sufferance of the president. If the president doesn't like you, you're gone. And finally, I think a lot of them realize, yeah, I work for the president of the United States. I don't work for my own DNC or left-wing agenda. I'm going to have to be answerable and accountable to my actions. Now, a lot of the press doesn't like that, because now they don't have easy access to sit up there and write negative stories and attribute it to, well, we heard this from this person, or we heard this from an anonymous source. Well, a lot of those anonymous sources aren't in the White House anymore.
Yeah.
Well, no, and you have to, if you're the president of the United States, you need to trust your staff, or else what good are they? So I'm perfectly fine with them choosing his staff. I mean, come on, that's what every president's done.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and especially now that they've done, I don't want to call it a purge, because that makes it sound rather negative, but now that they've weeded out a lot of the weeds, I mean, you're not gonna see any more stories from CNN where Trump fires another person. Who's he gonna fire next? Oh my god! You're not gonna see this borderline teenage girl gossiping about who's been fired and who's the anonymous source and all this stupid shit. And it's one less thing on his plate, and I am very glad that this has finally come to an end. Or is coming to an end.
Right. Well, you would hope for that anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I would hope for that to happen, but we'll find out next week on Anderson Cooper 360. Tune in next time.
As the Trump turns. Dun, 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 dun. Well, they have turned it into a soap opera. You have to admit that.
Yeah, it really fucking is, man. I hate it.
Well, what do you expect when you have a reality star, as president? And sorry, I know he wasn't his whole life. He was a businessman. But, last 15 years, he's been doing a reality show pretty much. And in the show, he just fires everybody. I mean, it's kind of his thing.
No, that's true, right? But he is the president, and I don't expect CNN to treat him as if he is still a reality TV star. I want them to treat him as if he is a president. And they're not doing that. They're pretending like this is still the early 2000s, and this is like Shark Tank or whatever the fuck that show is, where he's firing people and, I'll buy you your doggy slippers for $50. Or whatever it is that he's doing. I'm really fucking sick of that.
I tend to agree with you. He is the president of the United States, and you have to treat him with respect that is due his position. I agree.
Yeah.
But speaking of people, well, now we'll move on to a prime minister. Let's talk a little bit about, good old feminist Trudeau. And groping of a reporter. And in his defense, from what I read, at least in the article I read earlier today, his defense was he didn't know she was a reporter. Okie dokie. I don't think that really helps.
No, but this is typical, and you'll notice that the press hasn't done anything to him. The press is just basically ignoring the wanton behavior by leftists, which is why these creeps like Weinstein and everything are all on the left, because they know that they won't be outed. They know that they can get away with it. If you can go back. All right, most of you guys don't remember this because you're not old enough. You don't remember the absolute chaos and outrage that they exhibited toward Bob Packwood, and then 4 years later absolutely turned 180 and attacked the women who were talking about Bill Clinton. Okay, it was breathtaking what the faux outrage that they expressed about Bob Packwood. And Bob Packwood wasn't being accused of anything illegal. He was just being accused of basically boorish behavior. And they basically drove him from the Senate. They actually forced the Senate to oust him from the Senate, to pass a resolution in the Senate themselves, ousting one of their members. Okay? Ooh. They instigated that entire thing. And then 4 years later, we're excusing the behavior of Bill Clinton. You had reporters going, well, I'd sit there and give him a blowjob just to keep abortion legal. These were things that they were posting in the press. And people wonder why I get a little animated about this. And Bill Clinton wasn't just doing that kind of creepy activity. He was doing criminal activity. And they turned a blind eye to it.
Yeah, but
calling freaking Star a pervert, that he wants to see what's going on in people's bedrooms. Okay?
Trump grabbed a lady by the pussy.
And that's not even what Trump said. He says it's amazing. He said they would let you do anything, including that. That's not somebody saying, I grab women by the pussy all the time. And that's what they come back with. That somehow these stars can't do that? Well, Mr. De Niro, you've got picture after picture with his buddy, all right, Harvey Weinstein, nary a thing said, because he didn't give a shit. And, well, wait a minute, Trump is the bad guy? These people don't care about anybody but themselves. They don't care about the people that they quote-unquote cry for. Oh, I'm for the little guy. No, you're not. You just heard Bill Maher. Bill Maher made a statement. I hope the economy freaking crashes so we can get rid of Trump. I don't care if it hurts people. That tells you what he thinks of people. In reality, he doesn't care about them. I'd rather harm other people than to let Trump sit up there and continue his presidency. Why? What is it that Trump's doing that you want to harm people for, that you're willing to harm people to get rid of?
Well, and that's just it. The only thing he's doing is, well, it's nothing really. He just has, he just has different beliefs.
No. It's because he's a white male.
Then explain Bill Clinton. He's a white male.
He played the saxophone.
So what you're saying is if Trump played the sax, everything would be fine?
Yes.
Only an Irishman would believe that. He's looking for Trump's party credentials, apparently.
Oh, God.
Okay, my rant is basically over now.
Well, you didn't even really touch on the actual subject, though. Trudeau and how feminists seem to keep getting caught with their hands down the blouse, so to say. And then everybody just turns a blind eye. How exactly are you a feminist if you were groping this reporter? And the only thing that's fucking wrong with it is I didn't know she was a reporter. What? You cunt? Come on. Mr. Trudeau, go fuck yourself.
What do you I'm sorry. All right, you really want to hear my story about that? Why shouldn't he feel that way? I mean, women want to sit up there and give them blowjobs to sit up there and save abortion. Same thing applies in Canada. Well, I'm a feminist. Oh, well, then let's just get on our hands and knees and sit up there and service you, sir. All right, that's basically what they've been saying. We're nothing but sluts. If you talk about intersectional feminism, all right, when they're willing to sacrifice every freaking one of their principles so they can get on their knees to give these powerful men who claim that they have the same points of view as they do a blowjob, what difference does it make? How do you expect them to act? When you give them a pass, when now and all these organizations, these women representing organizations, turned on a dime, okay, and the ones that didn't were castigated. Take a look at what the press says about people like Tammy Bruce. All right, now many of you guys probably don't even know who Tammy Bruce is. Tammy Bruce was a former member of the NOW. National Organization of Women. She was the president, I think, of the Los Angeles chapter. Right. This was a very powerful organization, and she was leading that until she finally realized, oh my God, we're horrible, we're horrendous. Yeah, you've been horrendous, and so she turned on them, started her own changed her own advocacy away from that toward what she considered, true women's advocacy as she sees it, right? Which is not in any way, shape, or form a conservative one. Tammy Bruce is a avowed lesbian who basically thinks that or pushed for gay marriage and all those issues from her pulpit, and continues to do so. All right. But she realized what else they were doing was just attacking people who had different points of view for that, because they were conservative, and just calling them every kind of horrible freaking name under the thing, while at the same time allowing total creeps and cretins like Bill Clinton and everybody to get away with it.
Now, at least she became self-aware at one point. That's not something you can say about a lot of others.
She became self-aware, and as soon as she turned her tune, you ought to see the kind of freaking vitriol that's launched against her. Okay, now I personally don't care about Tammy Bruce one way or another. She is an interesting individual to listen to once in a while. Okay, she's not my cup of tea because I don't find her repertoire all that entertaining. It was when I first heard it, it was like, okay, but as it gets older, you know how some things you just get too repetitive and you're like bored with it, right? Yeah, that's where I'm at with Tammy Bruce. But if you haven't ever heard her before, and she's not unintelligent, that's the thing. She's not an unintelligent person, all right? She will argue her points of view, whether you agree with them or not, with anybody and everybody that calls in. But they treated her as if she basically was an apostate. She might as well have freaking, butchered a child on air and ate its entrails while it's led there bleeding and dying from the way that people talk about her.
Damn. That's metal.
And then you end up with somebody like Trudeau. Everybody can look and see what Trudeau is like, and you somehow think, oh my God, he stood up to Trump, so therefore we're going to forgive him. He stood up on what? Well, we're going to continue the acting the way we are, and you'd better not freaking put tariffs on us. Okay, well, here's the tariff. Well, we're going to raise ours higher. Yours are already in some cases at 250%. Do you really think this is going to harm us? Well, now on dairy products, instead of 250%, we're going to raise it to 400. There's a threat.
Well, yeah, and it's not a threat at all, especially when our manufacturing base is coming back. I mean, say what you want to about the president, but President Trump is doing well when it comes to the economy. Our unemployment level is below 4%. Our manufacturing base is actually growing for the first time in 10 years or so. He's not doing a bad job. And you know how he's managing the economy? By not fucking managing the economy. He's letting go of it like you need to. That's the one thing I do like about President Trump.
Well, I mean, I'm not a person who wants to get involved in these trade things, but one of the things that people have got to understand, they have got to come to grips with, is the idea that American manufacturing or that American goods were somehow not being hit with tariffs from all these countries. And I'm not just talking Canada and China. Europe has been playing this kind of duplicitous game with us for freaking decades. And they're scared, and because they know how duplicitous they've been. Yeah. And the one sector they could release, the one sector they could get away with actually reducing tariffs on, all right, that would quell a lot of this, would be in the agricultural sectors, and they've already drawn a hard line that they will support their own farming industry, and they will tariff the hell out of American agricultural goods till the cows come home. Okay, well, the cows are coming home now. Enjoy.
Yeah. Well, that was actually because I heard Trump actually talking about that, funny enough. And the way he described it, well, it was kind of autistic, but he described it in a manner that was I think quite accurate, to the point where it was slightly uncomfortable. And so what was it like during like a White House press conference or something like that? And he's sitting up there at the podium saying, "Yeah, we got together with the European Union, And, we sat down with them and, I said, we're going to have to be very hard on you now. You've been very hard on us. And they smiled. It was like they knew it. They played us and, and so he's going on about how he knows the European Union is fucking us and they're fucking us while we know it and they know it. And we continue to let them do it. And this has literally been going on for years. So the fact that they know they've been getting away with it for years and they're going to try and continue to do it. They're going to try and play hardball with someone who, isn't going to play hardball. That's on sketchy territory, man. I don't think that this is a game they're going to win.
More than anything else, there has to be an understanding by the Europeans, all right, that the United States does not view Russia the way we used to. They are not the big boogeyman. We are not as fearful of them launching an attack against the United States or against Europe as a whole. To be honest, we're just not. And considering the kind of treatment that they've given us, especially recently, all right, they've earned this. And as a rant I put out earlier today, I warned people. I've tried to tell people for decades in real life, all right, my European colleagues in real life, you're going to see the United States. It was only a matter of time before a U.S. president said, you know what, I've had enough of this. We've let you guys get away with almost murder, all right, when it came to our deals. We've bent over backwards to try and help you. I'm not talking so much the European, the English or the Great Britain, right? But the Europeans as a whole have stuck it to us repeatedly, time, and Germany's one of the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you guys don't want to play your way? Fine, we'll sit up there and go down to your levels. You guys want to play hardball? We'll play hardball with you because we're not afraid of Russia coming in there and kicking the crap out of the Germans again. We're not. Okay, we're not afraid. I mean, whether you like it or not, when the Soviet Union fell, it did relinquish a lot of its control over Eastern Europe. They're on their own. They're flourishing on their own. They're failing on their own. All right. The Russians aren't getting involved in that. When it comes to things like, well, people would argue with me saying, well, look at the Ukraine, look at Crimea, different situation there. All right. We have to, in my opinion, and I disagree with Sticks on this, we have to acknowledge, all right, the historical value and the historical ownership of Russia over areas in the Crimea. They've always had that, all right, since for hundreds of years, not just a decade or two, not just since World War II, okay, not just since World War I. They've always had control of the Crimea. For crying out loud, the charge of the Light Brigade was over that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you got to understand that there's history here where these are more Russian than they are Ukrainian. Now, is it a perfect solution? Does Ukraine have a dog in the fight? Well, yeah, they do. But guess what? At this point in time, the United States doesn't. Okay.
Yeah.
And for asking for us to make a differentiation here is really outside of really what we should be doing. Look, there's a dispute there. Yes, we recognize the value that both sides place on this, but guess what? We're not getting involved in it. We're not going to sit up there and tell one side or the other, if you don't do this, then we're going to sit there and get ourselves involved. We don't need to get ourselves involved in it. Now, does that affect some of our alliances with Ukraine? Well, yeah, but at the same time, it's like, look, you guys have wanted, the rest of the world has been pressing the United States to stop being the world's policeman. Okay, well, now we're no longer the world's policeman. Have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I actually agree with you when it comes to our foreign entanglements and us putting our nose out there for Crimea, of all fucking people. No thanks. You guys, sorry. I don't want any part of Russia. Unless Russia comes after us, then all right, then we'll go for it.
Well, if Russia becomes a worldwide threat and actually does threaten the world, then I'll worry about it. But they're not doing that right now. They have their own interests. Overall, they're playing by the rules. The international, what I mean by that is the game as it gets played. They're not They're not seeking land. They don't look to be trying to expand into their territories. I know, once again, that Styx would disagree with me that they're trying to seize areas in the Ukraine. I disagree with you. They truly do have territorial concerns and territorial claims on those areas. And to me, those territorial claims do make sense. Okay, they're not illegitimate. Okay, so if they want to expand in those areas where they traditionally held those areas, okay, I'm willing to let that go. I'm also saying we should watch them. I'm not saying just give them a free pass in the world stage. We're going to compete on the world stage, but as long as it's a general competition where we have claims, they have claims in areas that we have claims, if they understand that, and we have claims, if we have disputes, we have disputes. Okay. Can it lead to open warfare? Of course it can. But then again, it could always have led to open warfare. All right. It's just the way things are. All right. For the United States to say, okay, we need to get involved in it, especially in a situation when you're talking about the Ukraine, because how do we get involved? All right. What would it mean for the United States to get involved? Do we have any real force projection capability in that region to begin with? No. Then why get involved?
Well, it's not even to mention, I mean, even if we do go over there, even if we're launching over, from, I don't know, fucking Greece, or, let's be extremely, extremely generous and say the Turks will allow us to use them as like a staging area of some sorts. That's assuming that we have the fucking the natural population on our side, and they're absolutely begging on their knees for freedom, which, most of them aren't.
Well, let the other European powers, let the French take the lead. France was always real good about dicking around with us when we were trying to do certain things. Like when Gaddafi first started lipping off to frickin' Reagan. All right, I don't know how many of you guys remember this, but when that happened, we launched air attacks, all right, from carriers, but we also launched air attacks from Mendenhall, all right, in England, right. From our air bases in England. But because France refused to allow us to fly over their airspace, we had to fly all the way around, all right, around the Rock of Gibraltar, because Spain wouldn't let us frickin' use their airspace either, all right, to go in there and launch those attacks. We had to basically fly through the Gibraltar. All right. Now, Spain did graciously allow some of our planes that were damaged in the raid to actually land on their airfields, but that was it. Well, okay, since these guys, this is how they want to play world politics. They want to play that. You think that we were the Billy bad guys? Well, good luck, Spain. Good luck, France. Enjoy your ride as the United States starts to pull back and says, "You handle it."
God, I would
Don't
love
come
nothing
crying
more.
to us. And Italy, before anybody sits up there and talks about how great Italy was, all right, Italy sit up there and we captured Abu Nadal, all right, in a fantastic piece of U.S. intelligence, where we caught that son of a bitch, all right, flying from Egypt to Tunisia, and we frickin' put our planes in there to grab his happy ass, and so we basically diverted that plane to the Italian bases, and Italy goes, well, we don't recognize that he's a terrorist, and they frickin' let him go. All right, so you guys can frickin' kiss my ass too. And if anybody doesn't know who Abu Nadal is, Abu Nadal was one of the architects for the Achille Lauro hijacking. All right, which was a cruise ships which got hijacked by a bunch of frickin' PLO terrorists. All right. Where they sit up there and took a U.S. citizen who was a Jewish persuasion, who was stuck on a wheelchair. He was wheelchair bound, and they literally wheeled him to the edge and put a bullet in his head, and then threw him off the frickin' ship. Don't come frickin' crying to me about what happens in Europe anymore. Screw you guys. You've had this coming for a long friggin' time. You want the U.S. to start looking at our rights, and you want us to start looking out for U.S. citizens and U.S. citizen interests? Well, now you have it. We're acting just like every European country. I hope you're ready for it. Sorry. kind of went on a little tirade there. I apologize.
Yeah, I can't top that, so I'm just gonna shut up.
Come on, Mad Dodge. You're supposed to be reining me in. You're not supposed to be letting me go on tirades like that. Where did Mad Dodge go?
Oh God, you killed Mad Dodge.
I killed Mad Dodge. You got anything you want to add to that voice? I killed voice too. Okay, what's the next story?
Good fucking God. I mean, or well, I don't know.
Actually, no, actually, as MC was making his speech, I was singing the Stars and Stripes. Never have I felt more American than I did today.
That's good to know. We'll get you over. We'll claim you soon. We'll remove you from Great Britain. You can be an American.
Thank you.
We might have to kick out 40 for being a Californian, but that's a separate issue. One thing at a time.
I'll adopt a voice as my son, and then he can call
you'll
me daddy.
adopt a voice. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. So what's the next story, 40?
Well, I was gonna ask. What do you think they take such advantage of us? Is it just because we're a walking riot shield that's filled to the brim with cash? I mean, why do they feel? I mean, self-interest aside, right? Is there any geopolitical advantage to being a fucking asshole like that?
Well, okay, you got to look at why we were doing it from a historical basis, right? A lot of all this stuff came about because of World War II and the aftermath of World War II.
Cold War,
right?
yeah.
And our, how we set foreign policy and how it evolved, especially as the Soviet Union grew in power and became the number one, protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're seeing a major shift within U.S. foreign policy, away from the ideas of the Soviet Union, away from that kind of mentality. You're now seeing a shift back to conventional American foreign policy. And one thing about American foreign policy that many people have for so long forgotten about is it tends to be very isolationist. We have a strong isolationist tendency in this nation, and it's going to come to the fore again.
Yeah. I really hope it does. Because, I mean, that's one of the things, right? People think, oh, welfare is good for people. No. Just look at the European countries, apparently. Apparently, they've been on fucking welfare for since, like, what? Maybe, like, let's be generous and say, like, maybe 1945 or so. I mean, because especially when communism came about, didn't the Cold War start officially in 1957? Or 1947, rather. Sorry.
Well, the Iron Curtain speech was when, I think. Let me take a look at it, because that's really when the Cold War. Yeah, I would go to the Iron Curtain speeches that started.
The Cold War started in 1949 when the Russians made their first nuclear bomb, because they heard that America made this bomb. And then the Russians were like, whoa, wait, that's not how it's supposed to go. And they made also a bomb, and that's when the Cold War started.
I really think that the Iron Curtain speech, which was 1946, is when the Cold War started.
Yeah, you can say that it already started that time already. The Russians already started to, isolate themselves and stuff from Western European countries and stuff. That's true. You can say that.
I mean, there are several different points at the beginning of this. I mean, you could go back to the building of the Berlin Wall, the creation of the Berlin Wall. Could people point to that?
I have a lot of information about this history. Seriously, I do, and how it all happens. And it is weird. If you really think about what actually is going on, you're going to be shocked. Seriously, and nothing is what you would expect. Nothing is what you would expect. It's true. Everyone in Europe thinks that Russia is the problem, but it's not actually Russia. It is today. It's mostly Israel. and the Middle East itself that goes against each other, and that will be the Third World War. That's
they can become a flashpoint. There's no doubt about that. A lot of that stems from the outtakes of the Cold War and the Cold War philosophy at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of you can't look at things necessarily in isolation. I mean, even the U.S. involvement in Vietnam was a result of Cold War strategy.
True.
As it developed. Okay, so these things can't be looked at in the kind of isolation that everyone wants to look at things in a small area. But at the same time, the Iron Curtain speech, I think, was really the beginning of, okay, we're going to have two main power players that were developed as a result, because in the West, only the United States' industrial base wasn't negatively affected, wasn't pounded into the ground. Okay, in the East, the only ones that had a power base from an industrial base was the Soviet Union, and a lot of that is simply because they had relocated most of their industrial base far enough east that it was out of reach of the bombing capabilities of the Germans.
Yeah.
So that's where you end up with the coalesce, where the two sides coalesced. How both of that came about, and then obviously things came from there. I mean, China became a third player, etc. I mean, which is another dynamic that I haven't really touched on, mainly because for all intensive purposes, China was allowed to act in China's interest outside of that dynamic in a lot of ways.
Yeah, China hasn't counted on itself as well. They make their own rules. You know, and that's the thing, and we should leave China alone for that matter. I mean, I don't want to deal with China at all. I don't want to deal with Russia. I don't want to deal with any of the countries, actually, to be honest. The thing is that President Trump also already said to all these media dumbasses that we're not going to do anything with Russia because they are a nuclear power, and therefore we are not going to do anything. Because we're both a nuclear power, that's just going to be the wrong way. So to do something with Russia, to do something with any of the nuclear power, is just asking for trouble. It's not going to happen. Well, that's what Trump said. Not in Trump's administration, at least. That's what's going to happen. Well, maybe in another administration, maybe we're going to war with Russia. But as long as Trump is leader of America, there will be no war with Russia whatsoever. And that's just the hard truth of it.
What?
I trust Trump on that, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think that we shouldn't not have anything to do with Russia, because I mean, whether we play the game or not, the grand chessboard will move on. Power politics will continue, whether we play the game or not. So we might as well play the game and at least seek some advantages. Yeah, especially if that means that without us in the stead, Russia will take over.
What we need to do as a people is just make sure that we are just protected for ourselves now, because we are the people, and we are threatened by government and countries, and that's just the thing. We don't need to mix with political shit. We just need to protect ourselves. We need to save ourselves, because we are always the ones who are screwed if politicians are going to start wars and start things and stuff. Millions of people died because of these wars, and we are all the time the ones that's getting screwed and getting millions of people, family members, under 6 feet under all the time because of them. So it's for us, it's not really relevant to think what politicians do, rather than that we supposed to make sure that we are safe ourselves. And that's my opinion, though. It's a very interesting thing, the political thing, but if you think about it, it's just all a game. And these people earn money on all this and stuff, and they don't really give a shit what's going to happen if we're gonna have war. It's even in the Cold War, it's all a game. Even before that, it's all a game. We deal with people who really don't want us to live as we live right now with the Western values we got now. What we all as a people have built and stuff. They want that gone. And I'm not talking about the normal governments in the world. No, I'm talking about people who raised money for years, you know, to get themselves safe in a way. You know, they are protected with money. They are the ones that all the time destroyed our Western cultures. They destroyed Russia, they destroyed America, they destroyed Germany in the time. They destroyed every single country, and today they are busy destroying the Middle East. You know,
I
I
agree.
and that's the thing.
I think the Jews have done very terrible things.
Well, don't say Jews, say Khazar, because they are not Jews. Say Khazar, because everyone tries to avoid the word Khazar, but the real people who are behind this are not Caucasian people. They are Khazar people, and these were actually Turkish nomads. It used to be, but now they are the most richest motherfuckers in the world, you know. And now they basically control everything in the world, you know. Yeah, they just do that shit.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. It's hard to take anyone seriously who sounds like Goldfinger from Austin Powers.
Oh man, it's unbelievable. What's that? Turkic nomads. Yeah, half Russian, half Turkic. It was just like, you know, between the Caspian Sea and a little bit in the north, in the Ukraine and stuff, and Crimea. These people lived. Even before, like around 500, 600, 700 AD, before that cases actually went into Europe and stuff. Before that, they actually even changed to Judaism and stuff, you know, because they accepted eventually the Judaism, and that's where it actually all started, you know. Islamists even had fights with them. You know, they tried to get into over the Caucasian mountains, but they couldn't, because they met an army that was much stronger than them, and that was the Khazar army. So yeah, it's an interesting story. You should read it. You should really read it. Then you will also understand a little bit better what is going on in this world, and why this world is the world why it is right now. You know, I learned a lot of it, and it actually makes a lot of sense to me too. Yeah, I'm done talking.
Yeah, it's up to 40. I'm waiting for 40 to step in, or Mad Dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no, I'm having a good time. I'm just hanging out.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the next story?
The next story.
To be honest, I didn't have time to look for stories. Mad Dodge was he was the one doing that while I was editing.
What's he got in the Discord here? Aside from the Trudeau story.
Oh, I don't like this guy. This guy is so fucking up. What the fuck?
I got a story here about. Let's see. Rand Paul blocked in bid and indefinite detention of Americans. Let's see. It's from Breitbart. Let me pull the link up real quick. Because, yeah, I didn't know how long you were going to be here, MC. I still have the lineup for the E3 pulled up of all the new
I'm going to be here as long as possible. That's for sure. So I just wanted to join this conversation because it's a very interesting conversation.
All right, so Senator Rand Paul he's a senator from Kentucky, wants to end the U.S. government's ability to detain people indefinitely, arguing that violates Americans' Sixth Amendment rights to a speedy and public trial. Now I'll stop.
Stop right there. No. Stop right there, because right there shows you the duplicity of what you're listening to. All right, which is, he said he wants to stop the definite Americans. Well, Rand, show me an American that is under that situation. If you can show me one, then maybe you'll have a point. But if you come back and say, well, the United States is holding foreigners that way, I'm sorry, the Constitution doesn't apply. Stick it up your ass.
We never wanted to have foreigners anyway in America. You know, well, of course we want to, but just
the incarceration is taking place in Gitmo, which is technically not part of the United States.
Yeah.
Which is what he's trying to basically force. Is he wants the indefinite suspension of these guys. Now, the problem, of course, is how do you handle these people? All right, they can't be handled in American law because they're, how are you going to say that they're subject to American law? You captured them overseas. You captured them in areas within combat. Okay, so that are not part of the United States. So how do you handle them? They can't be put into the American judicial system. All right. Rand Paul is this pie in the sky. Oh, everything is fine. Let's just go, la 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 la, do this. If Rand Paul had somebody specifically in mind, then Rand Paul can bring that individual. If that's an American citizen, then you can sit up there and say that. What he's trying to do in this case, though, is he's conflating American rights with we're going to give rights to the world. This is ridiculous.
That's not how it works, man. These rights are American rights, and America is, a different kind of country than Western country in a lot of ways. Therefore, that's just the truth.
Am I wrong, Mad Dog?
No, you're not wrong.
Well, let's continue with the article a little bit here. Let's see exactly what he's talking about. He has proposed an amendment to the yearly must-pass defense legislation authorizing Pentagon spending that would repeal a 2012 provision giving the president the ability to indefinitely detain anyone based on the 01 authorization for use of military force, AUMF. Paul, a libertarian, that's a lie, he is a Republican, has long pushed for Congress to approve a new AUMF. It is a blank check for costly and unfettered war. However, sources suspect that Senator Lindsey fucking go fuck yourself Graham is secretly blocking the amendment from being an inclusion of GOP amendments that would be voted on and attached to the defense bill. It requires consent from all senators.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, so what he's talking about is authorization for use of military force. Why can't he add that in there? And do you believe Senator Graham, Senator Go Fuck Yourself Graham, as I like to call him, is correct in blocking this?
Wow, the anger in this.
Oh, I fucking hate that fucking... That's the great senator from South Carolina.
Well, there are a lot of senators right now that I hate, because they're all like for themselves and stuff, as long as their money is filled.
They're making a good case for term limits, that's for sure.
Yeah.
and Graham is one of the ones that should have been gone a long time ago. I won't deny that either. All right.
Yeah.
However, that's so. In other words, what he's trying to do. How does this have any effect on holding people indefinitely? All right.
He wants to get that provision in the bill stripped from it, and that way we can have the authorization for military force.
So he wants a military force bill. See, this whole article started with the premise, all right, that Americans are being detained indefinitely, and it has nothing to do with that, does it?
No. It is a very silly newspaper article. I'm telling you, man. And there are millions of them.
Well, real quick, okay, it continues on a little bit. It is inconceivable that in 2018 a senator would block language to prevent indefinite detention of Americans. What happened to the rule of law? Lindsey Graham should own up to this and explain to innocent Americans why he's fine with detaining them indefinitely, said a senior Senate aide. Breitbart News reached out to Graham.
So here we go. We're making claims, all right, and yet show me the evidence.
So
Give me the name of an American that's being held indefinitely.
It's true.
Well, first off, do they even have to announce that they have you? I mean, can't they just cover it? I'm gonna hit Google up here. I'll see if I can find you a name. So go ahead, guys, and say how dumb Rand Paul is for a minute, and let me see if I can find you a name.
Yeah.
If Rand Paul has a case, if he has a name of somebody that's being held indefinitely as a U.S. citizen, all right, well, then bring the case. All right, you can easily enough fight that battle in court. The reason he's bringing it up like this is because it isn't being brought up in court. No. Right. And the reason it's not being brought up in court is because there's not an American to attach it to.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can say claim that this will have that effect. You can claim that somebody could be quote unquote as an American held indefinitely. All right. But the fact that there isn't an American being held indefinitely in one of these kind of things, all right, is indicative of the fact that it hasn't gone through the court system. Because if you don't believe that there'd be some leftist freaking judge, all right, that they would shop this to run it up the flagpole to harm America, all right, that are more than willing to harm America on some of this stuff, even if this guy was a diehard killer. Okay, that they wouldn't take that through the court system, and it would go through the court system, and it's that individual then would be brought up and being charged with killing Americans. Okay, because see, this is where it's going to come down to. If you catch an American fighting on the other side against American troops, okay, and you bring him into the judicial system, it won't be long before he's convicted of treason and executed. Right, so that's the fear that these people are being held indefinitely. The fear that these things are going on is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I found another article that's not giving me a name, but let's see here. The passage of the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, a federal statute essentially meant to codify the Guantanamo approach to justice, invoked a fair measure of outrage and alarm. Right-wing radio announcer Rush Limbaugh condemned the new law as total authoritarianism, and liberal law professor Jonathan Turley warned that it is one of the greatest rollbacks of civil liberties in the history of our country. An unusual and possibly unprecedented coincidence of views. Online petition sites overflowing with calls for the NDAA's repeal, at least one of which has tens of thousands of signatories. And some are even demanding the recall of the treasonous members of Congress who voted for said legislation. But it's still not giving me a name of any
because
American.
There is no American that's been subjected to it. That's why.
But if an American could be, isn't that the problem of itself?
If an American is held that way, all right, they will instantly be placed within the court system. So I'm not afraid of it. No.
And it's not. So it's just a bollock story. That's what it is.
I hear what you're saying, and you have the theory around how could this person be held? How could this person be subjected to this? All right. I can fully understand you making that claim, except for the fact that there are plenty of judicial methodologies that exist should an American be placed under that status to go through the court system.
Yeah.
So in other words, we need a poor sap to be arrested using that law and not given a trial before we could actually get rid of said law. Yep. Isn't it just a bad idea to begin with?
No. These are people that, unless you want to just put a bullet in their head when you catch them on the battlefield, would you prefer that?
It would probably cost a lot less.
Dilemma.
It would cost a lot less, so that's your preference?
So yeah, well then yeah.
I never said that. I'm just pointed out it'd be cheaper. That's all. Don't read between the lines or anything.
No one will know.
Okay, so let's adapt the Mad Dodge methodology and just put a bullet in their head because it's cheaper. And as we sweep through an area and grab these people off the street, we'll just start putting bullets in their head because we know that the press would never show an American or even one of our South Vietnamese advisors putting a bullet in one of these commie spies' head. All right. Yeah. Oh, that did happen. That's right. I think we've learned. All right. At least which lesson do you want us to learn, Mad Dog?
Fair enough. I do want to comment on Captain Coalpile in the chat saying Rand Paul is a libertarian. I would beg to differ, considering he's not a libertarian representative in the Senate. He is a senator from Kentucky, and he ran as a Republican and won as so. So he is a Republican by his own admittance, kind of like Austin Peterson. If he wins in Missouri, he is a Republican now.
Yeah, and it was Trump also not at first Democrat before he went Republican. So it's just a change, I think people also understand that the left side is a little bit too overpowered and stuff now in doing the things wrong. They rather be on there herself, or they go in conservative.
Well, the Republicans have it's a broad tent, just like the Democrats are a broad tent in a certain sense. Okay, so you have these different demarcations, and U.S. political parties are not the same. Do not have the same dynamics. Do not run into the same dynamics as you see in Europe with the parliamentarian system. So, I mean, it's neither good nor bad. It's a different methodology, or it has positives, it has negatives, and that's what you're dealing with right now. Now, I've told people before, it's very hard to run as a third party and gain traction, especially in today's society, because too many people want to focus on national elections, aka the Libertarian Party, rather than the local elections, which could actually build a third party from that.
Yeah, and maybe better parties as well, probably, because now you got basically a closed society in Congress. So you're not like that going into Congress anymore, you know.
Right. Well, to a large extent, you're correct. But they could, if the Libertarian Party built a base basically as dog catchers, as local, councilmen, and then built from there and built up their power base within a region, then it's possible for them to subsume the greater party of either the Republicans or the Democrats, depending upon which one fractured. All right, at the time, and giving them a power base where they could sit up there and basically abscond with those members. All right. Now, within the Democrat Party, is fracturing possible? Yes. Is within the Republican Party fracturing possible? Yes. Now, Donald Trump has, for all intents and purposes, papered over a lot of the differences within the Republican Party. There's no one doing that currently with the Democrat Party, though. But then it goes to the second thing where, once again, people are claiming that, poor Bernie Sanders, he got notice that he will no longer be allowed to run as a Democrat. All right, in the DNC.
Who decided that?
Well,
who decides that?
The Democrat Party decided that.
I thought you could do whatever you could in this country,
if he wants to register as a Democrat, then he can register as a Democrat.
Yeah, of course, if he wants to, indeed.
But he's not going to sit up there and do it at a whim, and then as soon as he loses an election, go back to saying, no, I'm neither a Democrat, I'm an independent socialist.
Yeah, right? But the very fact is,
with the National Party basically doing that to them. Everyone else comes back and says, well, this is them, cheating Bernie again. No, they're not. All right, the Democrat Party is just basically saying we don't trust this guy. All right, because he's not really a Democrat, and you cannot fault them for that, considering that the only time he became a Democrat was when he said he was running as for the Democratic nomination, and then as soon as he lost, said, "Okay, I'm not a Democrat. I'm a freaking independent again."
Yeah, well, you can better be independent than that you choose Democrat or Republican whatsoever. That's my opinion.
As far as I'm concerned, I mean, it's just another lying leftist. So what's the difference?
Yeah, it does make a difference indeed. No, yeah, I realize too that it doesn't really even matter if you're right or left. You better go for yourself and have your own opinion, and and then you will be fine.
If you stick to your guns, especially in the political sense, all right, then you have a chance of rallying support from the American people. And this is what the Republicans never realized, which is why Donald Trump basically took them by storm and ran that. And it's also the same thing, whether people want to believe this or not, that the problem they had with Bernie Sanders in the Democrat Party, because he was speaking his mind as he saw it, and he wasn't backing down. All right. The press, however, all right, is a different matter. The press was in the position where they thought that they could pick and choose, all right, who the nominees were. All right. So they said, okay, for the Democrat nominee, we're picking Hillary Clinton, and we're going to allow Trump, we're going to push Trump to be the Republican nominee because we definitely don't want any Republicans elected. That was their philosophy going in. So they freaking backstabbed Bernie Sanders, and the press did. And when people talk about the backstabbing and so forth with Bernie Sanders, it wasn't the DNC that did it as much as it was the press.
Yeah, no, that's true.
where they sit up there and were colluding with elements within the DNC to sit up there and basically ensure that he would never get the nomination. All right, that is very true. The press did do that. The press was giving Hillary, all right, the talking points. They were giving her the questions that were going to be asked prior to the debates that they were having. Okay, so there was collusion by the press. All right, but as far as the DNC itself, I don't look at the DNC as ripping it from Bernie. I see it's from the press that did it to him, and nobody once again. And does the press actually catch the hell for that? No, you end up with people like what's his name, H.A. Goodman, who basically says the DNC colluded to sit up there and deny Bernie the nomination. Bernie wasn't a freaking DNC person. He wasn't a member of the Democrat Party until it suited him to do so. Okay, so you can't blame the DNC for acting the way they did. You can, however, look at the press and say, wait a minute here, look at the nefarious and underhanded tactics and underhanded things that they did. But does H.A. Goodman do that? No, he tries to protect the press because he's been a member of the press for a very long time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's always the press that shapes the minds of everyone, you know. That was always the case since that press
well, that was along. The case. Until the internet basically broke the ability of them to control the narrative, because the narrative now is going to be run by the internet, to a large extent. The press can put stuff out there. Don't get me wrong; they still got a lot of power. All right, and I don't want to try and minimize the fact that they still have a lot of power. But the reality is that they don't control it like they used to because of their inability.
Because of the internet, yeah. No, that's a good thing, I guess, because now we have also people who actually don't believe media, and that is a good thing. So not the entire people is being brainwashed by the media.
Well, no. Well, let's talk a little bit about the press over in the UK. What are they talking about that last Tommy Robin, the Free Tommy event, right? It's all just a bunch of Nazis attacking cops now. It was a couple drunk freaking British guys attacking the cops. And a majority of the people were listening to speeches and being peaceful. I did see the footage of some idiots, but there's always some idiots. I mean, the press is still trying to control the narrative at every single turn, especially in other countries.
Well, I think that Sargon, Sargon's got to wake up a little bit. All right. Yeah, it does damage your credibility when you are fighting with the police. There are people that are going to support the police at these rallies. When the police got aggressive and started pushing, you guys pushed back. Okay. And in this regard, I mean, I can understand, it's understandable, but at the same time, you can also see Sargon's point. But Sargon should be even-handed with that approach and not just sit up there and throw blame and shade on one end. He needs to sit up there and be honest about what was going on, which was there was some real aggressive tactics being used by the police in certain aspects, and they got massive amounts of pushback. That's what I saw. That's what I witnessed in those things. So, yeah, and I do believe that if Tommy Robinson gets assassinated and he gets killed in that jail cell, it will lead. Now, I didn't believe it before, but after watching these last ones, I believe if Tommy Robinson is killed in jail, there's going to be freaking violent protests throughout Great Britain.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go on with your story because I'm hanging on your lips in the meantime.
So, what did you think about that, voice? Are you still listening?
Yes, I'm still listening. I'm not sure about the rest, though. I think they're hanging on your lip too.
Voice of One is who I was speaking to there. I was seeing if I could engage him. Engage voice or engage a 40 ounce. 40, you got anything to say about that?
Yeah, you guys still here?
Yeah, we're still here. This guy is making an entire story, and you ask if he's still here.
No, I'm talking to 40 and Voice of One. You know, the two people that haven't said a word in 15 minutes.
Yeah, indeed, that's true. That's true. Where you guys going?
Well, I decided since Viola was on a bit of a rant to paint the entire house.
You must have a pretty small house if that's all it took. Either that or you're really quick.
Yeah.
So, do you, after watching what happened with the Tommy Robinson stuff over the weekend, do you think that it's gonna that the end result has to be a violent uprising?
At this point, I think it's inevitable.
You think it's inevitable at this point? Do you think Tommy Robinson will be killed in jail? Do you really believe that? Or do you think he'll be protected at least?
No, he'll probably put in solitary confinement. They won't want anything happening to him because they won't want the outcome of him being a martyr. But again, if these protests continue, they are going to get more and more extreme. That's just the way things happen.
Yeah, that's true.
I hope that doesn't happen. Just I'll fully understand if Tommy Robinson is killed, but hopefully these protests will stay non-violent for the most part. All right, up to that point.
Yeah.
Because
everyone has a right to protest.
Because what will happen then is if they don't, you're going to see people will start supporting crackdowns on their own civil liberties. That's what you will see.
Yeah.
Well, do they have any civil liberties?
Want.
Do they have any civil liberties left in the UK? I mean, you can't even report on rape gangs. I mean, what the fuck's going on over there?
You have to remember this is as much a class war as it is anything else. The middle class are behind the papers, and the propaganda, and the working class are coming out against it. That's where the true fuel for the fire is coming from.
So you think this is a middle class uprising?
No, it's a working class uprising. Remember, the middle class heavily supports fucking Remain and all that bullshit. And this is the working class coming up against them. Because remember, most of the mainstream journalists are middle class.
So you think most of the mainstream media is middle class? In Great Britain?
Middle class or above, yes, definitely.
Well, I'd say that I would put them firmly in the above middle class.
The first class?
There would be a middle class and above, but they're definitely not working class.
Yeah, see, the United States, when we use the term middle class, and then you use the term working class, I think they mean two different things.
Yeah.
Within the United States, middle class was always supposed to be the people who just earn the same, the middle of the living, right? Regardless of whether or not they were steel workers or auto workers, or whether or not they were
they're all right.
pencil pushers.
They're in the middle of all right. They're just all right. You know, they earn enough money to get around. That's the middle class.
Right.
The working class. Yeah.
Right.
But then you got a poor part and a rich part, and you know that's what you will now see more poor than that you will see middle class, and maybe the mainstream media is going to be middle class.
Basically, what you in America call blue working class, or blue workers would be, or working class. You know, people who work
the blue collar workers.
Yeah. Right, but there were plenty of blue collar workers in what we would call the middle class. They were always included. They were never subject to saying they were part of the necessarily working class.
Well, no, they couldn't be. Middle class is usually people like people with degrees, you know.
But you need in my country, you need all the time a degree for everything. So people with degree, everyone needs a degree. If you don't have money for a degree, you don't have a degree, and that will also say that you kind of are in a not going to find jobs that easy because you need a degree.
Yeah. Hey, Mad Dodge, just to let you know, I've got to drop out. I gotta go take care of something. So I apologize for having to drop out now, but
oh, it's all good. Yep, we'll move on to the
worry.
video game topic then.
I'm sorry for dropping everybody, but it's been nice
awesome.
talking to everybody. So I'll talk to y'all later. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye bye, man. Yeah, you guys were actually talking about the Elder Scroll and the Fallout 76 thing, where there are lots of speculations about Fallout 76, by the way, and I don't like them because it's all speculation. But the thing is that what I hope with Fallout 76 is that it will be like Fallout 4, but better, and that will say that you indeed can build settlements and stuff still. But that you also will have the open world still, but that you will have more missions as well and stuff, and that's the things and stuff, new features and stuff that you can do and stuff. Basically, a little bit better than the modded version of Fallout 4. Then I guess I'm not sure, but what I hear is that Fallout 76 probably going to be in West Virginia. That's what I heard. So, but that's what I think. That's weird, by the way, because I was actually expecting Oregon or something else, or maybe even New York or so. Maybe that would be awesome as well, but that's not gonna happen. I didn't really hear things about the Elder Scrolls 6, so I hope you guys can fill me in on that.
Well, since you brought up Fallout 76, let's start with that game. Voice of One, I saw your video this morning on that. I disagree with you on a few things. All right, so the first main thing I disagree with you on is the mods. I don't believe they'll really be modding it. And I heard 40 Ounce said a little bit earlier before we went on the air that they did an interview with, what is his name, Tom Howard or some shit, the fucking head of Bethesda. And he said that they will not be coming out with modding ability. Maybe further down the line it will get that. But I would just like to point out, if this is a massive multiplayer RPG game, then there's no way you could really do the modding, because you're right, you're going to overload the servers and it's just not going to work. It's kind of like there's no real mods for Elder Scrolls Online. I think that's more of what they're going for, is like a middle of the ground Fallout game to keep you guys psyched for Fallout 5. You know what I mean? This is going to be like a multiplayer, like ESO.
Yeah. I hope actually to have a multiplayer in Fallout, because I've seen that in Fallout 4 that these settlements, man, you need help with that shit, man. If you could get other people in there, you could make settlements down. You could make awesome settlements and stuff. It will make a game lots more fun. I mean, so man, but I want to see that in Elder Scrolls too, man. What if you could go in this world together and make these missions from both of you, and then you go together on these missions and stuff, and wouldn't that be so fucking awesome? I would have been. No. Seriously,
man, that's awesome.
Well, yeah, Voice of One, elaborate, because not everybody has seen your video, which they should. Matter of fact, after we're done, I might link that for you in the description, Voice. Maybe we'll get some more views on that, because I liked a lot of your points. It's just mainly the mod thing I disagree with, and I want to start with that. So what do you think in response to what I said?
Well, if they don't put mods in, fair enough, then I won't worry about it. But the very fact that it's all going to be online, no, fuck that bullshit. No, I mean,
especially maybe for the microtransactions that comes though.
Listen, cool. There's going to be two-tiered game. There's going to be people who are going to be playing 50 hours a week, and they're all going to be amped up. So when a casual player comes on who's only playing maybe 5 hours a week, they're going to be completely outgunned. It creates two-tier fucking gaming. Not to mention it, I guarantee you right now it will end up like a fucking Call of Duty online headless chicken game. They'll just be fucking arseholes running around, killing each other for no other reason, no technical thing, just to piss people off. It's going to be a clusterfuck.
Yeah. Well, that's because maybe they fuck it up themselves. I really irritate already by myself how much of a lack of attention the games actually in all gets. if you, for example, look to Star Citizen, that game cost $270,000 today, and it's even unfinished. You can play it. It's probably also even awesome. But if you think about that I paid an $80 for an unfinished game already, you know, and that they try to, you know, let people sort of kind of, you know, deserve all the content that's been brought up in the games, you know, and that they make teasers that don't even, you know, fit in the entire concept what they promised, you know, that's just ridiculous. You know, I want to make sure that games are the games that they were used to be, that we actually played a game. Used to be, I paid games for 30 fucking bucks, and these were new games, like entirely just brought out. Later on, they became 40 bucks, and then they became 60 bucks, and now they are 80 bucks, and they will become 130 bucks soon enough too. Battlefield is already in total 130 bucks worth already because of the microtransactions added to it. What I am afraid is that Skyrim also going to do this, the microtransactions. Every game is going to do the microtransactions simply to get more money out of this. But the thing is, they will not earn more money out of it. You know, that's the thing. But the problem as well is that developers, that they have a time that they have to, you know, fill in and stuff. And they have an amount of time that they work, and that time they work, and then they are waiting for permission to things and stuff. That's what I hear, you know, and that's why games today actually go to the Philistine, actually to Shredder and stuff. I am afraid of all this because the thing is, microtransaction was meant for the mobile gaming industry, not for the actual gaming industry, the console gaming and the basic PC gaming industry. That is not meant for that. You know, the thing that they do, that all these loopholes and stuff like that tells me that they don't want to, you know, bring a lot of attention anymore to games. And that tells me that social justice warriors who are against gamers and who claim that games are actually basically the problem in the aggression of the world, they are going to win with this, you know. Oh my God, I see everywhere social justice warriors go into screwing up everything what we had as a whole, as a Western society. And it's going to be until we don't have nothing left. So yeah, I'm going to wait, and I'm just gonna wait until it's cheaper as well, because I know it's going to be a shitload of money as well, and that's just the truth, boys. That's just the truth. You know, it's just not cool anymore to game this way. But I still game, and I try to seek games that I like, and of course, eventually I will try the game, but I don't do it for the microtransactions anymore. And they try to keep us in our hand. They try to keep us by the balls. You know, that's what they do. And we have to wait, and we have to accept every single thing what they bring up to, even though we don't agree with it, even though we as a community told them from, hey, this is how we want to see it. They're just not going to listen to it, and that's the problem.
Well, no, and I think when you're talking about, you know, like MMOs, I'm okay with paying a subscription fee to play ESO or whatever, World of Warcraft, that type of genre, because they've always had subscription fees. But it wasn't microtransactions. It wasn't where you're paying money for a stupid fucking mount or something. You paid a monthly fee and you got all the features of the game, and that's it. That was the deal you made for them to keep updating it, to keep it running, and to constantly make it better. Because look at World of Warcraft when it started to now, and they're still putting out new content.
Yeah, no, because
I mean,
yeah, no, I'm all for microtransaction content, but don't promise things in your game that you then at least say, yeah, these features are microtransaction content that you can get later on in the game if you finish the game, and you can still progress in the game. Because the thing is, what I want to see in games too is that you after you, for example, play the story mode, that you then can go, you know, just can continue off story mode, but still kind of story mode, that kind of thing, you know. That's what I want to see too, that there is more content. But for example, that you can buy DLCs, that's perfectly fine, but let it be a DLC, you know. For example, $20 for DLC is already enough. Come on, you already paid $80 for this game. You know, it's okay at $20. I would pay for it. But the thing is, the content must be right. Okay,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and they're
it better
supposed
be
to promise
good.
what they promise. They shouldn't promise things that they won't put in the game. That's just fucked up. That's just not cool. That's just
Yeah,
like a politician saying that he wants to give us $1,000 per month, but he's not gonna do it. Balaka, what are you doing? You give me that money right now, mister. But he's not gonna do it. Yeah, that's
well,
just fucked up, man. That's just
well, yeah.
happy with a dead bird.
Well, yeah, and the
Basically.
DLC has to be worth it. If you look at, you
Yeah.
know, like the game I tagged on this because I figured we were going to take up most of the time on this E3 thing because there's a big lineup of new games. You know, Skyrim, because I want to talk about Elder Scrolls 6, but that's not out. There's not even a name for it. So I tagged Skyrim in it. If you look at the DLC for Skyrim, it created a whole new area on the map. You fucking had a whole vampire storyline and all that for $20.
Yeah.
And then there was another DLC for another $20 that was just as fucking good and created a whole new way of building houses. You know, I think that one was only like $4 or $5. I mean, cool. They actually gave you shit for what you were paying for. Not like let's bring up a different game. The Battlefront 2 or whatever, the Star Wars game that got in all that hot water.
Yeah. That was fucked, man. I had the idea that I was playing a sport game in the menus, but it was not. It was exactly the menu selection of Battlefront was exactly the same as I seen in EA games. You know, it's also made by EA, so go figure. But the thing is, I expected something else in the Battlefront scene, you know, and I expected actually more from. You know, a more storyline into the Star Wars separate scene, but they didn't. They just didn't. They really didn't. I just put off my TV and well, I actually played another game actually after it. I just didn't want to play the game anymore. I was just embarrassed actually. I was thinking about myself. This is just going to screw up a lot of heads, a lot of Star Wars heads and stuff. You know, because they cannot be the motherfucker who they want to be in their movies, you know, and that's just the thing. That's just, you know, a scam just to get more money as well. I was very, but go on.
Absolutely. Well, 40. I don't know if you stepped away. Are you back? What do you think about Fallout 76 before we move on? I want to get your thoughts on this, man. No, you're not back. Okay, well, let's talk about the new Elder Scrolls game then, because all they give you is one sweeping shot over mountains, and it doesn't look like Skyrim. Obviously, they wouldn't go back to Skyrim already. That would be stupid. Where do you think it takes place? I'm thinking High Rock, but I don't know. And I think we were already in High Rock in what, Elder Scrolls 1, like the old ass game.
Well, I
believe that's where it started.
What I loved about the Elder Scrolls is that it always was in a different setting, in a different world, you know, in different provinces of one world. And you know, they just need to go the worlds that are available in the world itself. I mean, there's a lore. There's a lore in this world, right? You know, if they're gonna screw shit up in this too, there is a specific lore what you can follow in the Elder Scrolls. It's an epic storyline. We have already Skyrim, you know, with the Nordic part of it, you know. So now we have to go for how many provinces has this world anyway? There are a couple of provinces in this world, right? That you got Oblivion, you got
you have well, let's see, it's Cyrodiil was in Oblivion, that's where it was taking place, was the capital province. And then Skyrim, obviously, in Skyrim. Oblivion, no, not Oblivion. What was it? Elder Scrolls 4 or whatever. Morrowind. That was the Dark Elf home. I think the old games did High Rock and Cyrodiil also, but they were just old 2D like scrolling games, and they were super fucking hard. So no one really got to like adventure. Really, it wasn't until Morrowind that the game actually gotten off the ground really and became what it is now, one of the best epic fantasy games I've ever played.
Yeah,
the whole series is good. I mean,
so maybe a remaster of the Highlands. That's what you're thinking of, maybe.
Yeah, I'm thinking of that, or maybe the Somerset Isles. I don't think any game's ever taken place there, and that's where the High Elves come from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, that would be really interesting. But it didn't look like an island chain. You know, the way it's swooping through it, I don't know. It didn't look like an island, but you don't really get more than 30 seconds of footage.
Yeah. Well, that's teaser, of course, you know. So that's where the speculations are coming from too. Yeah, we're just gonna hope that it's going to be a nice game, though. And I mean, Bethesda is not a wrong developer at all. They do in general. I mean, I love their Fallout games as well, you know. And it's always been done the right way. I always enjoyed it. It's never been overpowered in a way. It was a good game. And well, we've been a long way actually in this thing. This is actually the game what we expect to have. Fallout and stuff, the open world, the feeling that you actually have a purpose in a world, and the same thing I always had with starting from Morrowind indeed, you know, when I played that game. It was a long time ago though, wow. But yeah, indeed, I had always that idea that I had a purpose, you know, and that I belonged to a certain group, because you could join groups and stuff like that as well, you know, or you could be the lone warrior and stuff. It's amazing, you know, that you can do that and stuff, and that's actually never reached in games either. So games like Morrowind and Fallout, these are in a way for me actually kind of next generation games, because they actually give you the opportunity to, well, place yourself into another world, and that's just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean,
absolutely,
there are other fantasy games. I mean, like the Witcher series. That's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
But that's not as immersive to me. And it was more. The game drove the story, whereas in Skyrim you drive the story. If all you want to do at the beginning is go murder somebody and join the Dark Brotherhood, that's what you do at the beginning. It doesn't matter what level you are. You just go handle it. I mean, and that's what I like.
I wasn't really like going for the murdering. I was just thinking, the Dark Brotherhood, that sounds super awesome. I'm just gonna join that faction. So I did everything that I could to join that faction. So I murdered some people. Of course, I expected it. It was not that I didn't expect it, but I expect in games for sure that I have to kill people. You know, that's just like what. Of course, that draws me a little bit to the game, the killing people. I mean, I guess that's just like what I'm going for. I'm a sick person.
No, everybody is. That's why there's not really like the only people you can't kill in any of the Elder Scrolls games are the children. I mean, you can't kill the children. That's it. Other than that, you can kill anybody. There's even spots to where you kill the wrong person and the whole game.
Yeah, you lose karma.
Well, no, it's like it pops up with you killed, you know, this person. You can no longer fucking finish this quest.
Oh
like,
yeah,
that's gone, wiped out.
I always facepalm myself when that happens, man. Damn it! I always want to do those quests. I never want to kill a person with a quest, you know, because there are people indeed with a quest, and you shouldn't kill these persons. I do it after the quest. That's what I'm doing. I don't have
absolutely
anymore. It's gonna be a Sith Lord.
But another game Bethesda announced, Starfield. They're not sure when it's going to be released, but it's a space-based RPG game. So I'm thinking Elder Scrolls in space. That sounds fucking badass to me. I'm really looking forward to that.
So we may be looking at an Eve and a Star Citizen Online kind of idea. Maybe even No Man's Sky kind of idea.
I hope they don't fuck it up like No Man's Sky was. Yeah. I mean, that was such a good idea, and then they just fucked it up.
But I think that lots of they're just behind schedule as well. You know, and there's just a lot of disturbing news going on around the developers as well. I'm not really entirely believe in their guild anymore. In what they. You know, I really think that it is the guilt of, you know, the fault of, you know, rich people, you know, basically trying to get rich over games. Actually, basically, that's what I think. These developers that they are just also just like men like you and me, and they like their games and they like and that they also see with a sad face that they cannot give their fans what they actually want. That's what I think. And that indeed the rich part hired some social justice warriors to fuck the day of every single good developer, you know, by putting them in charge and to tell these good developers that they have to bring it like this. It's basically what they do with the newspapers as well, you know. I mean, it's just tell them what they want, what they need to make, you know, and make sure that nothing is going to be, you know, nothing have to, nothing can have to do something with the narrative of today, you know. So there can't be niggers, there can't be transgenders, because that's just, you know, that's just fucking ridiculous. That's madness. That can't be, you know, and that's just not gonna happen. So it's supposed to be in the narrative of the day. I'm crying right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh no, and okay, the next two games, I'll just throw them out together because what is this? 1985. You got a new Doom game and a new Wolfenstein game, both. Doom Eternal, which looked pretty good. So the little thing it says here, the sequel to the excellent Doom reboot has been confirmed. But that's just about all we know. Doomslayer is going to be even more powerful, and they'll need to be against twice as many demons. Also, Kako demons have arms now. What the hell? We'll find out more about Doom Eternal at QuakeCon in Dallas this August. And then Wolfenstein Youngblood. It's a spin-off and sequel to Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, but it's set much later in Nazi-controlled 1980s Paris. But even more interesting is it stars BJ Blazkowicz twin daughters. Even more interesting yet is that it's a co-op game, and it'll come out in 2019.
Yeah, I want to see co-op games more, you know. That's just cool. I love that.
Yeah, no, and I saw both the trailers, which I'm not sure if I'll get a strike for showing, so I won't. I'm sorry. I'm going to try and protect my ass here and not show any trailers and get in trouble. But both games look pretty good. So, I mean, I don't know. Is this the late 80s and early 90s again? Are they going into the reboot thing with the games, just like with movies? And will it work with games?
Well, yeah, as long as the content, I guess the content's supposed to be good. I mean, maybe it's a little bit upgraded in a way of how it was before. Maybe nicer graphics. Maybe the pixels look nicer in graphic. You know what I mean? No, I guess that will be alright. I mean, it's not even a hard game to create either, so that's going to be fine, I guess.
Oh yeah, first-person shooters. That's why they come out once a year, pretty much. At least Modern Warfare was for a long while. They're really easy to make. It's just you add some new guns and you spruce up the fucking graphics, make some new map packs, and you're done. I mean, that's why they were able to crank them out every fucking year. Just like baseball games and football games. I mean, you just polish them up and re-release the son of a bitch.
The only thing is that we now want to shift over to kind of sandbox idea in military stealth games, you know. And I want to see that also more. Look, I played games like Arma as well. But that game, or at least I've seen that game as well. It's stuff. It's a cool game, and I want to see that more. Battlefield is already doing that, but I kind of want to see actually in a more objective but not linear kind of game. So meaning that you have to reach goals with your team of, for example, 50 people, but it's supposed to be fitting as well. You cannot overload the servers. Indeed, I'm not sure how much people you can put in a server either. I mean, I know you can do a 64 against 64 people in a server, and that will go fine. That's Battlefield. But Arma is 100 against 100. That's also cool. Yeah, that's
absolutely.
That's just the question. How many people can you put in one server without overpowering the server? Because you have also the problem with some people have better internet than the other, therefore the ping rate is also lower or higher, you know. Therefore, that will have then it happens sometimes that ping rate, the lower ping rate of someone else is going to interfere with your ping rate, and you will have to drop rates and stuff. That's also not good, you know. So yeah, that's also a thing that could you know, crash a server and stuff. So yeah, that's just like a question what I would. So the shooter games will be fine though, but and as long as they make good storylines, I'm okay with it as well. They shouldn't do the microtransaction thing. They shouldn't. And if they do it, then they should deliver the entire game and then put the Minecraft upon that entire game. You know, like more things and stuff. You know, maybe you can do, for example, if you have a Second World War game, then you get all the content of the Second World War, but then the DLC content will be the 50 years, you know, in the 50 times, you know. So you get weapons from the time out of the 50s, you know, or even out of the 60s and stuff, you know, that you can upgrade and stuff like that. That would be cool. But then it's honest, you know. There's so much weapons what we can sell online actually in a way in game, but they just pick a variety of weapons that they want to, you know, simply because they think that those were the most effective weapons. But if I see what kind of variety the armies of history actually used, and today as well, we have so much to pick off, and we can do it. We can do that, but now they give us not too much in this, and you know, that's just not what I expect from next gen games. You know, I expect from next gen games that they give us more than they did used to be, which were good games. You know, because we need to go on. I mean, am I now a crazy motherfucker saying that?
No, I tend to agree with you. I also never really understood why they couldn't. Okay, so like the Black Ops games, everybody loved the zombie shit. What if you split the two games then and had the zombie stuff as a DLC and you just make it better, just improve upon it? And yeah, then you have the base game that you buy right off the bat, and then they can make a little bit of money with the zombie DLC. That's not a bad idea, and make a better storyline out of it, other than running around in a house or whatever, you know, whatever zombie level you want to play that day. You know, actually have different map packs, actually have a storyline all the way through, and making an entire game on its own. I think it could stand up on its own because everybody loves the zombie stuff.
Yes, it's true. But now I hear that the developers saying that they don't want to create a game out of scratch because there's too much work, and the finished game between two high commas. You know, they are already finished, and we cannot mingle with it anymore because that would also, you know, put a lot of work in it and stuff. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, then that's just doom. That's just fucking doom, man. Games are not going to survive that way. It's going to be a kind of a good memory in that way and stuff, and that's it. I just am afraid of that shit. It freaks me too, man. I'm so afraid. Hug me. I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, I'm just hoping that they're not going to make a transition to this virtual reality bullshit, because I still just want to sit down and pop in MLB fucking 18 or whatever and just play a game of baseball. I don't want to put on a fucking headset and pretend I'm swinging the goddamn bat.
Well, it's supposed to be a choice. I mean, you could. I mean, it's supposed to be a choice that you can do it, but not necessarily need to do it. You know, I mean, I get what you say though. It's true.
Yeah. But if they try to transition, if they want to make that the next generation of gaming, I think they're going to get a lot of pushback from people like me, old school gamers that don't necessarily want to do that. And I mean, I don't know. I don't think they should transition all the way to VR. Have it, but whatever.
Are you a PC gamer, PlayStation gamer, an Xbox gamer?
Well, I like PlayStation mainly because of the baseball franchise, MLB The Show. It's the only good baseball franchise there is, so I stick with Sony.
But Xbox doesn't even have a VR system. They have a Kinect system, but not a VR system. They went with the V thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little worried with how PlayStation is trying to really shove that VR down everybody's throat. I don't know if it's going to work out well. It's kind of a novelty thing, but
it is a nice idea. it is. I think. But I think actually it's a cool idea. But I get you. It's supposed to be an option. You know that you can. That if you don't want to use it, then you shouldn't even have to use it. But I think that's also a possibility because the thing is, you can buy that loose from the console. It's not added to the console itself. You need to buy that loose, just like the Kinect. So
yeah, absolutely.
But are you afraid that games will be VR only then? That you need VR?
Sooner or later, I think they're going to try and go that route. I don't know if it'll work or not, but they could try and go that route. Yeah, and that's what I'm kind of worried about.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah, well, we will see. You know, I mean, it's already a very exciting time for the game world. You know, and you know, despite the annoying news and stuff that's around, I still hear also a lot of good news and stuff around games and stuff, and that I try to follow as well. And to be honest, I don't really go with critics either. To really understand a game, you're supposed to play it yourself, and then you can actually have a good conclusion on it. You know, and that's what I also do because I played a lot of games that had a bad review, but they turned out okay. You know what I mean? And
yeah, absolutely.
It's actually since 2016 that I actually have to complain about games because in general I'm actually happy with all the games. I don't complain about games at all. In general, I always love to play games and stuff, but now I finally complained, and that's well, that says something if I complain because I am always happy and like a slave. Feed me.
Absolutely. Well, I do want to say thank you for coming on. We usually try and just go around the 2-hour mark, unless of course I'm drinking a bunch of vodka and then I go 6 hours. But yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap her up today.
Yeah, hey, cool man. Yeah, I'm going to smoke my jonko, but I'm also going to do lots of nice things. Yeah, man. It was a nice conversation indeed. Thanks that I could join. Yeah, man.
Yeah. The link is always in Discord. We'll be back at it on Wednesday. Have a good one, everybody. This has been the Redeye Stream number 126, and we're out of here.